But yeah, so this week, our it's Wednesday, and really the guy that we focused on and brought in is Mike Williams. So are you in favor of this move? How do you see it? You think the money's right outside of the joy of seeing the Taylor ham, egg, and cheese situation? Is this the right guy?
I think so. I think when you looked at the wide receiver market, there wasn't a ton of names that really screamed out at you. It was good to hear that the New York Jets were in on Jerry Jeudy because that was a name that I was interested in, right? And then you saw the contract that he got and you're like, damn, I'm really glad we didn't go that way. And then you keep hearing these things of the New York Jets were interested in Keenan Allen and just like, oh, like they were a part of the conversation and he just chose to go somewhere else. He wanted to go to the Bears, and okay, it makes sense. He's going to get paid to go to the Bears because they have all of the cap space in the world, so they can overpay for him. And the New York Jets aren't in that spot. And so you get these different like conversations that you keep hearing, and it's just like, hey, this is a lot of really good. There aren't a ton of really good options in the wide receiver market because none of the guys that anybody ever talked about made it. And that's the whole thing. That was one of my talking points before the whole thing is like people kept talking about, oh, the strength of free agency is in the wide receiver class. I was like, it really isn't, because none of those guys are going to sneak through. Michael Pittman didn't get out. Mike Evans didn't get out. T. Higgins didn't get out. Like none of those guys made it out. And then some names came up that we didn't expect, like Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. They're both gone. But I think that I would love to see the details of the contract, because I would hope that it's not just like $12 million guaranteed and then like $3 million on incentive. I would hope that it's heavily incentive based, especially since he's missed a ton of time. But this is a great signing. It doesn't change my draft strategy. It doesn't change the way that I think we could continue to approach free agency. But we definitely needed a wide receiver. And Mike Williams, when he's on the field, is one of the better ones in the NFL. So, yeah, it's a good signing.
Yeah, and I'll close the poll. We put a poll up there earlier. If the chat thinks so, whether or not Mike Williams is the right number 2 or a good number 2 option for the Jets, 93% of you guys said yes. Now I'll put something up here real quick if we got a chance. But Snowball, you're not answering the question. I hear you that Bacon is goated. Matt O'Leary agrees that nothing's better than Bacon, and that's a wide scope because Bacon can be wrapped around dates. Bacon can be chopped up and thrown in all kinds of salads and cobs. So yes, it's very versatile. And I wouldn't want Taylor ham in my Cobb salad, to be quite frank. So, but have you had a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese, Snowball? That's the question. But let me share this.
I'm dodging it.
Yeah, don't just talk about, bacon. Of course, everybody, bacon's king, but we're talking about a very specific thing here. So let me show you guys. So here's the thing. I don't dislike the Mike Williams move. I want you to know. And if he was the guy that we could get out of the batch, then I'm totally fine with it. I think he was in the conversation anyway. But I preferred Tyler Boyd to go. People because you want, you're middling or you're a settler. I don't get it. And then when you look at the guys next to each other, obviously Mike Williams is a little bit bigger. 7 seasons, 309 receptions for 4,800 yards, 31 touchdowns, 15.6 yards per reception. 218 of those receptions went for first downs. 2,000-yard seasons. He had 2 full seasons. Now, to be fair, he had a couple seasons where he only missed 1 game, too. So that's not necessarily a concern unless you start adding it all together, right? So last year he played 3 games and he missed 18 games over the past 2 years. Where Tyler Boyd, no slouch himself, 6'2", no small guy, 6'2", 203, 8 seasons, 513 receptions. So look, in one more season, he has, 200 plus reception, and 1,200 yards, plus the same touchdowns, 11.7 yards per reception, 302 first downs, 2,000-yard seasons. Full seasons 5 times, plus 17 games in 2023. So do you think I'm off here? I would have preferred Tyler Boyd. Not that if on the field head-to-head, I will concede that Mike Williams is a better wide receiver, a more dynamic. Obviously, the stat of, him the highest percentage when, what is it, past 30 yards or whatever it might be. So he's a dynamic player, exciting player. He's very close to what you could call a number one wide receiver, honestly. But Tyler Boyd, I feel like, is more consistent and would have been my preferred choice. Do you disagree with that? Would you still have chosen Mike Williams if they were both right there for the taking?
Yes. I think Mike Williams, the on-field product, is better with Mike Williams, because all it would take to catch up to Tyler Boyd in terms of just straight up just yardage, right, is last year. If he plays last year and he keeps those same stats, the yards per reception and all of that stuff, he surpasses Tyler Boyd. They would both have 8 seasons, like not even 8 seasons, but like he would have 7 seasons still. But it would be this season. It would be 128 receptions. And that's not, or it would be 2 seasons, let's say, right? If you gave him that extra season and he was healthy last year, he would have had the 6,000 yards in,
it's hard to say that. It's hard to say that because,
but just if you extrapolate that data out, right? Let's just say you got to extrapolate the information that you have from him right now in one less season. If you were to extrapolate that data out, and just again, this is assuming health, and you get really dangerous when you start assuming health, right? But Mike Williams has 31 touchdowns in 200 less receptions. He has only he's behind 1,200 yards in one less season with far, far fewer targets when you're looking at it. It's 200 less targets, but it's only 1,200 yards less. And so when you take all of those things into consideration, I think Mike Williams' on-field product is better than what Tyler Boyd is. And if you're telling me to pick between one of the two, I would pick Mike Williams 9 times out of 10. The only other time is if you're scared of the injury. I'm not. And the reason I'm not is because of Garrett Wilson. That changes if Garrett Wilson isn't on the team, because then I want the consistency. I'm willing to take a risk on a guy who might have an injury history because I know my number one is solid, if that makes sense.
No, I get it. And, it's hard to say, though, that he would have 1,200 yards because he didn't have 1,200. He didn't have he only had 1,000 yards plus twice in 7 seasons. So it's hard to just assume that. Now, 2 years ago, he had 1,100 yards plus. So it's hard to say now, but either way, it would be in the neighborhood, right? It would be in the same neighborhood.
But he got 1,100 yards, just to counter that real quick, in a season where he played every game.
Correct.
Right. And in 2022, he had 900 yards, right? But he missed time. It would be very safe to assume that if he didn't miss those 4 or 5 games, I believe, it's very easy to assume that he would have gotten 105 yards.
What's up, guys? Matt O'Leary from Talkin' Jets. If you liked that video, please make sure to subscribe and follow for more New York Jets content.